personal attacks against members of the board or members of the audience. Now, we reviewed our policy as to when the public is allowed to address us, and it's in our policy that whenever there is a item that is being brought before the board to vote on, that there will be time for public comment at that time as well. So now we have our moment of pride.
It's Kathleen? It's you. She's not presented before, so don't worry.
So, I'm Katie Wong. I'm a senior at Elkhart High School, and I'm a part of the SSAC. So I'm here to talk about the Art Depot. One of the hidden gems of Elkhart High School is the Art Depot, located at the freshman division. Elizabeth Stokes has worked incredibly hard for several years, along with fellow ECS teachers, staff, and students, to bring fantastic programs and opportunities to EHS students and the Elkhart community. The Art Depot is a safe art-based after-school community for students. It is open Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. The litany of events offered to students is staggering. Just a quick perusal of the calendar shows activities like cupcake decorating wars, giant Jenga tournament, movie and craft night, pottery painting, and so much more. The physical transformation of the Art Depot space over the past several years is remarkable, especially for anyone who saw the classroom 20 years ago. One can almost feel the palpable curiosity that rises from simply entering the room. In addition to the tangible qualities of the location, Mrs. Stokes has helped to create a true family atmosphere among the people who frequently visit the Art Depot. There is so much negativity in this world, and those who get involved with the Art Depot should be highly commended for generating such a welcoming, inclusive environment available to all of our students. The clubs offered at the Art Depot are free to high school students, and there is no registration or long-term commitment necessary. The classes offered for small costs are actually open to any interested community members in Elkhart too. Whether a person enjoys sports, music, arts, or even cooking, the Art Depot can spark his or her interest. Through the Art Depot, people can meet new friends and have a creative outlet of expression, and discover and develop strengths they never even knew they possessed. We want our entire community to know about this exceptional part of Elkhart High School and experience it firsthand. To get more information, people can go to Elkhart Art Depot on Facebook or elkhartartdepot.com.
Thank you, Katie. We have the consent items.
So moved.
Do I have any discussion from the board?
Yes, one gift acceptance of a 1995 Chevrolet Impala Super Sport, estimated value of $4,000 to be used in our automotive cluster. From Terrence Johnson. Thank you, Terrence.
All right, thank you. Any other comment from the board? Do we have any comment from the public on the consent items? Seeing none?
Kelly Mullins,
Aye.
Babette Olin,
Aye.
Ann
Aye.
Vandervellen,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Stacy Davis,
Aye.
Rocky Enfield.
Aye. Old business?
In front of your places this evening, I have the COVID update numbers from the weeks of October 11th and 18th, and you see that those have fallen a little bit from what they were the previous 2 weeks prior to that. So we have seen the general trend that we've seen, and I've heard from other superintendents we're seeing within the county schools that those have fallen. Would be curious to see, following this fall break, as we have had after other breaks, what may happen with those numbers, but we are in a good position with that. As we get to October 31st, that is when the governor's executive order would terminate for the month of October. And in November, we could revisit what we would be doing with our mask requirement based on whether that's renewed or not by the governor. Again, the ability for our students to attend school, and as they have to do minimal mitigation and allowing students to ride the bus is a continued benefit for us being a mass district. And as we've also seen here, the number of close contacts are at the lowest point that they've been all year. So that's where we are relative to our numbers, and we can see what happens with the governor's activities over the next couple of weeks and determine at that point what we would like to do going forward.
Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? New business?
Wait, she's got her hand up.
Dr. T, you said that, the governor's orders, you can't open or have, students attend school if you don't wear masks, or like they have to be
No,
quarantined?
there are different procedures. So the state health department has given out guidance that if you are masked, then students considered close contacts reduced to a radius of 3 feet rather than 6.
Right,
And you don't have to do the special mitigation to that larger radius, only to the smaller. And so for us, when we were having several students be close contacts when we were the 6 feet radius without masks, then that was impacting more students. And so the additional mitigation steps included separating those students at lunch, and the parents had to provide transportation. And that was a real burden for our families. And so by us being masked, then we're down to the 3 feet circle for close contacts. That reduces the number of students who are impacted by that close contact.
but you took the wording out for transportation, when you took vaccinated versus unvaccinated out, you took the wording out for transportation, so then they could ride the bus as long as they wore the masks.
And we're vaccinated, right. That was the previous guidance, but now with it being that everybody's masked, that's what allows us to be able to not require students within the 6 feet to be able to have to do that.
So then you're gonna put the wording vaccinated versus unvaccinated back into the plan?
Potentially could be, depending, when we look at the guidance, when it says unmasked students, then it's very clear in the state guidance about what you have to do regarding that.
And I read that, it didn't say anything about transportation. I was just wondering if you're gonna put the segregation of vaccinated versus unvaccinated back into the plan.
That would be a discussion I'd have with the board regarding going forward with that.
Okay.
Any other discussion from the public?
How has that been working with athletics, indoor athletics? Seems how they're unmasked.
Indoor close contacts, if they are close contact indoor not masked, then those follow the protocols of what's supposed to happen. If that's not happening, then that needs to be brought to my attention so I know.
Any other comments? Mr. Scott?
Yes, sir. Okay, good evening. Good evening. Budget adoption is this evening. There are 5 resolutions. We'll go through them individually for the board to take action. I'm going to talk about them in a little different order than they're in your packet. So there is a chart that's the summary of all the funds that we budget. It's up in the upper right-hand corner. It says Form 4. It really is a summary of the dollar amounts that we've been talking about and potential adopted tax levy. It's interesting that 2 lingering resolutions in here are the resolution to adopt the capital projects fund plan, as well as the bus replacement plan. Those are actually part of, as we talked about during the work session and then the hearing, that they're part of the operations fund, and yet we still have to adopt them separately from the total budget. And then there's 2 others. So with that, I would ask that the board take action on adopting the budget, which is the summation of all the funds that includes education, operations, referendum debt service, pension debt, rainy day, and then the referendum operating fund. So with that, Mr. President, I would ask for board action.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion from the board?
I have a question.
Okay.
Can you explain the difference between the adopted budget column and the adopted tax levy column and why they're different and why the operations is so different?
The adopted tax levy column is reflecting property taxes that will be generated to support the funds that receive those. So the three debt service funds receive
Right.
local property tax dollars as well as excise and financial institution tax.
So I guess my question is, why aren't they the same? Why are the amounts different?
Because this is just reflecting, this is the state's form. This
Okay.
is just reflecting the property taxes that would be raised.
Right.
Doesn't include then the corresponding excise, commercial excise, financial institution tax that comes along with that.
Oh, okay.
So those are extra dollars, and they're proportional. The
So-
county will figure those.
Okay, so but the operations fund, there's a significant difference there compared to the other funds, so is that the same reason, or is there something else going on there?
If you recall, during the presentations that I provided, there's two funding sources because the operations fund is a pot, right?
Right.
They took, capital projects, transportation, bus replacement, those all receive property tax dollars, and they combined them into operations. But they also took the portion of the old general fund that the state considers overtime, so like expenses of the school board
Right.
and the business office and the superintendent's office. Those are also in the operations fund. The state provides us still one, basic grant funding that they require us to receive in the education fund. And so then we transfer a like amount.
Okay, so that's so the
That's
difference
the
is the difference is the transfer.
Right, that's the other
Gotcha,
piece. And
okay.
as you recall, the state shortly after, moving to this new method, came out and said, don't transfer more than 15%. And just, in the last week, we received notice from them, they calculated that transfer for us is 12.8%. Which is an indicator that we run fairly lean, compared to some districts in the state, so, great question.
Great, thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah,
Kevin, for the minutes, can you clarify, we're not, which ones?
We're gonna do them one at a time, and so I've asked for the Form 4.
Okay, all right, one at a time, just tell me which one you're
That's the
doing
top
in what
level
order.
one.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other discussion from the board on this one?
This is budget form 4, correct?
Correct.
Page 60.
Do you have any discussion from the audience? Seeing none?
Kelly Mullins?
Aye.
Babette Bowling?
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen?
Aye.
Doug Weaver?
Aye.
Troy Scott?
Aye.
Stacy Davis?
Aye.
Rocky Enfield?
Aye.
Okay, great. The next I will ask for action on is the resolution to adopt the 2022 capital projects plan. So again, it's a piece of the operations fund. The total for that was just over $16 million. It's a 3-year plan. There's information on the website that's required by law as far as public notice. If you go to administration and then business office, you can find those under there. So with that, Mr. President, I would ask for approval of the CPF plan.
Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion from the board? Do we have any discussion from the audience? Seeing none?
Kelly Mullins?
Aye.
Babette Bowling?
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen?
Aye.
Doug Weaver?
Aye.
Troy Scott?
Aye.
Stacy Davis?
Aye.
Rocky Enfield?
Aye.
Great. Let's move next to the bus replacement plan. Again, this is on our website. The bus replacement plan for 2022 is $1,602,000. And we have to display a 5-year plan. That's on our website. But the district, we still budget for the full replacement of our fleet, which is a 13-month cycle at this point. So with that, Mr. President, I would ask for approval of the bus replacement plan.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion from the board? Do we have any discussion from the public? Seeing none?
Kelly Mullins?
Aye.
Babette Bowling?
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen?
Aye.
Doug Weaver?
Aye.
Troy Scott?
Aye.
Stacy Davis?
Aye.
Rocky Enfield.
Aye.
Okay. Next, I'm gonna move on to the tax neutrality resolution. And what this is at the time that the state encouraged schools to buy out pension liability. Okay, so, days gone by, there used to be retirement language in teaching contracts. And that was a liability that the state thought the schools shouldn't have, and so they encouraged everybody to borrow. But they also said, you can't raise your overall tax rate. So tax neutrality means that the amount of property tax that it takes to help pay for pension bond payments has to be reduced. We used to get a decide between CPF, transportation, but since those funds have all been consolidated, today it's the operations fund. So if the if the property tax amount is $2.5 million, they'll reduce $2.5 million from the operations fund. So this just allows the state to include that when I work in the budget. So, Mr. President, do we approve the tax neutrality resolution?
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion from the board? Do we have any discussion from the public? Seeing none?
Kelly Mullins, Babette Bowling,
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Daisy Davis,
Aye.
Rocky Enfield.
Aye.
Thank you. And then the final resolution this evening is the resolution to reduce budgets. This is something we do every year, and so when the state contacts me and they start working the budget, they will make reductions. To give you a sense of how much, last year, when we advertised for 2021, and they worked the budget, they reduced it by 4%. Okay, overall. So, this just grants the CFO the ability to make adjustments, because you have a very limited window of time. I think they give us 10 days, once they send us the draft, to respond and make requests for adjustments and so forth. So, with that, Mr. President, I would ask that we adopt the resolution to reduce budget.
Do we have a motion? Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion from the board? Do we have any discussion from the public? Seeing none?
Kelly Mullins, Babette Bowling,
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Daisy Davis,
Aye.
Rocky Enfield.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the financial report through September. Business office would like to report cash balance at the end of September 2021 is $33,946,191.43. That is a nice improvement over prior year. Both education fund and operations fund that are in your packet are ahead of last year. However, our enrollment count is down some from the amount that they started funding us on in July, and so we'll see an adjustment down in funding in November and December if they're able to get the enrollment software to work. They're still struggling with a final number for us, but we're doing okay. So that concludes my comments on the financial report.
Thank you.
And then finally for me, the insurance experience. You can see that September returned to a more normal pattern, slightly less claim costs than the same month in the prior year. Year to date, we're significantly higher, but the COVID year with non-emergency activity pushed off, we're much higher this year. We're still almost $50,000 ahead of expected claim costs. So that's good news. So that concludes my comments on the insurance report.
Thank you. Okay.
What? With a question? Okay.
Kara Goff?
My name's Kara Gio, I live in Elkhart.
Sorry, I mispronounced it.
Oh, it's okay. And I have children that attend Elkhart schools. And the question, what I wanna to ask about is the ESSER 3 grants. And the Elkhart is awarded over $26 million. And what comes with it is the CDC guidance, which includes universal and correct wearing of masks, contact tracing in combination with isolation and quarantine, in collaboration with the state, local, territorial, and tribal health departments, diagnostic and screening testing, and then efforts to provide vaccinations to school communities. I'll stop at those. This grant goes until September 30th of 2024. I also ask, is ESSER funds used to support vaccination efforts? Yes, it can be used in a wide variety of ways to support vaccination efforts. I look further into the 50-page document of the state plan for the American Rescue Plan Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund from the U.S. Department of Education, and it's in table F1 where it discusses nurses. It states in there, with COVID-19 schools have needed to supplement their nursing services, and many more responsibilities were added onto the nurses' workload. Accessing, referring, tracking ill-staffed students, identifying close contacts, isolating and quarantining identified persons, reporting positive cases, close contacts to the Indiana Health Department, Department of Health, school portal. So this is the part that I was concerned about. These will all continue into the next school year with additional responsibilities of assisting and or administrating vaccines to students, as well as testing and tracking the vaccine status for staff and students. I'm not aware of any school nurse that provides vaccinations to our children. Then you hop over to the CDC site and how schools can support COVID-19 vaccinations. We can set them up at clinics at your school, which can be given. Nurses stations may offer vaccinations throughout the school day, which we're seeing over in South Bend. And here's arm school staff with resources for answering general COVID-19 vaccination questions. So they recommend using teacher workshops, staff meetings, and newsletters to promote school staff involvement in COVID-19 vaccination efforts. Another one of a child taking a selfie of themselves saying promote vaccine confidence among students, parents, and guardians. And they're encouraging teachers and staff to share their COVID-19 vaccine stories on social media or throughout school. My first grader should not know the vaccination status of her teacher. I should not be hearing about vaccinations at parent-teacher conferences.
Exactly right.
I know I'm about out of time, so I'm just gonna say this. My first grader, I am pulling from the school system. I am not okay with that, but I do wanna know where the school system stands on vaccination clinics in school, because if they come into our school, I'm also gonna pull my 8th grader. Thank you for your time.
Woo! Yeah.
Jamison Halverson?
Hi, my name is Jamison Halverson. I'm a senior at Elkhart High. Today's topic is gun control in our school. So I'm going to start from here. Hi, my name is Jamison Halverson. I'm a senior at Elkhart High. Just in the past few months of being in school, there have been many fights. Some of these fights have involved weapons. There's been 2 guns inside the school that I know of. I'm wondering how you guys are going to do something moral and civil about this. You have all of us wear masks that are supposed to protect us from COVID-19, but when there is a gun within school walls, there is no question, there is no statement or anything out in the public. My question is, when there's an actual danger involving a weapon carried by another student, why are the other students and teachers not aware of what's going on in their schools? We as seniors and juniors cannot leave to go get lunch because it's a safety issue. But when a gun is seen in school walls, loaded or not, there is no word about it. We as a student body have to find out all of our information on our own. I understand that there can be twisted things sometimes, but it's still an issue that when this happens, we and our parents are not informed about it. October 18, 2021, there was a fight with 2 boys. A gun was dropped on the floor, maybe loaded or not. August 31st, 2021, someone got arrested with a gun and was in a fight. I'm not saying when every single fight has happened or occurred. Monday, September 16, 2021, I personally went to the principal myself with my friend Zoe Ortiz, giving them all the information about how someone was threatening to shoot up our school. Joke or not, nothing happened. As a community, we need to come together to think about how to fix situations like these. This is a situation where it falls more on the community that's leading the kids to come to school with a weapon. I don't want my speech to come off as if to get metal detectors and searches. That would cause a lot more trouble than it needs to be. But this needs to be handled because sometimes I really do get afraid for stepping into my building that I know that is my school. My friend Holly recently sent me a picture of someone threatening to shoot up the freshman academy. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to happen this morning. All that I'm asking is the school board of Elkhart Community Schools is how are you going to help look out for the other students and teachers when there's a weapon inside the school? Doesn't matter if they're security guards or police officers to keep us safe. These fights are in the middle of the school where everyone can see. I really don't think someone's going to care if they find out they have a weapon on them. So if someone comes in, a visitor comes in and asks, you guys ask them, what are they here for and why are they here? Just in case if they do try to shoot up the school. Are we going to be put on lockdown if another student gets injured from a gun dropping on the floor from a fight? Or are we just going to go on with our day like nothing happened? What I'm asking is, as a school board, we are your future. We are your future in this life. I'm worried and I want to know how this is going to become differently, responsibly, respectfully, in a better place and a safer school for our students of the Elkhart Community Schools. Thank you.
Jody McDonough?
Hi, Jody McDonough. I live in Bristol. My son is a senior at the high school. I'm just going to cut right to the chase. And it was already just briefly discussed a few minutes ago. But once again, you left your decisions about the mask mandate open-ended. It is time to be upfront and definitive about how you will be proceeding from here on out with the mask mandate that is still in place. At the August meeting, I believe it was stated that you would be revisiting this mandate each month based on COVID numbers, but you set no other parameters and have no clear end game. I feel your decision was made solely on your personal opinions, how much money would be lost per student if you didn't pursue a mask mandate, and you gave no real rationale based on scientific research or data from the plethora of well-known studies or doctors outside of the information from the one-sided mainstream media. To quote Dr. Joseph Lapido, Surgeon General of the state of Florida, we're going to be very explicit about the differences between the science and our opinions, he said. What's been happening over the past year is that people have been taking the science and they've been misrepresenting it. It's been unclear when the discussion about science ends and discussion about how you feel about the science and what you want people to do with the science begins. By the way, Dr. Lapido is no fly-by-night physician. He earned his MD from Harvard Medical School and his PhD in health policy from that university's Graduate School of Arts and Science. That said, we are done with fear. We parents are done with not having the option of whether our children, not yours, wear a mask. We are done watching you and other public officials like our governor attend local meetings, fundraisers, state conventions, and other social engagements maskless while you continue to suffocate our children. We are done with your hypocrisy and your do as I say, not as I do attitude. My disappointment in many of your actions knows no bounds. Teachers are done as well. I will speak for and advocate for them since there are many who won't speak out against this mandate due to fear of repercussions from doing so. They want to teach, not have to be mask police in their classrooms, or worse, have to gaslight students to keep their masks on by telling them that they are going to kill a family member or spouse because their mask isn't properly covering their face. Oh yes, things like this are being said in classrooms across the board to children, and I for one won't stand for it. Since it seems you have no plan of action, I would like to recommend one for you. It is time to begin consulting boards and superintendents of Jimtown, Northfield, and Fairfield, who early on made masks optional and left the decision to the parents. Your discussions should include the parameters they have set for COVID cases, sanitation, and give you guidance for Elkhart Community Schools going forward. I then suggest you set a day and time to revisit this mandate
Your
after
time's
your
up.
research and report back to us, the people you work for.
Mrs. Gross?
Good evening. I am Missy Gross. I was here 2 weeks ago. I still live in Goshen. I am still a teacher at School Without Walls. Last Thursday, my colleagues and I attended a funeral for one of our colleagues who taught at the freshman division. He died of COVID, so I guess my timing is pretty good. As a group, we were sitting around at the church after his funeral. We came up with a conversation regarding the policies and lack thereof of what happens when a staff member passes away. I typed up a list. If I may, I'd like to give it to you. Please take my words into consideration. Thank you.
Lori Arnold?
Hello, Lori Arnold, Goshen. I would like to compliment you, first of all. I love that you guys have a microphone here so that it does make us feel like we are heard. I will say that, and I can hear other people. If I could maybe make a suggestion, it is so hard. I've been to a few of your meetings, and it's really hard to hear you guys. I know you have microphones, but a lot of times they're not up close to you, or you don't speak close to them. So if you could maybe just speak up, or in some way, so we can hear you a little better. I was going to talk to you guys on social emotional learning, but I kind of changed my mind because if you can tell by my shirt here, parents are being called domestic terrorists now. We have a president, so-called president, that has decided to call the FBI in on this. I was speaking at a Elkhart County Commissioners meeting where I posed the question, and I'm still waiting for my response from the sheriff about whether he was going to meet with the FBI regarding parents in Elkhart County, and whether he was going to go after them. It doesn't look like that's going to happen for the parents here. But I will tell you, I've been working with some really good groups, and I've been learning a lot about what's been going on in the schools in the Elkhart County area with social emotional learning, DEI, pornography in our schools, the mask mandates, the coming vaccine mandates, all the stuff that I'm seeing going on. And I'm here to tell you, and I'm here to tell the parents that the time to pull your children is now. We've already had parents that have had the police called on them for welfare checks as an intimidation tactic by a person from a school. Now, it is time for you to pull your children. The smartest thing that I heard the other day at a meeting was, it doesn't matter how much weaponry you have, how many skills you have, if they have your children, you're lost. That is the truth. Save your children. Keep coming to the school board meetings, and we're going to keep holding you accountable for what you're teaching and what you're doing to our children. But please, parents, save your own children from what they are doing to them. There are homeschooling groups popping up all over right now. Go to Purple for Parents Indiana. There is a Goshen citizens group. There's Save Our Kids Indiana. There are resources there. We will help you. We will guide you. Thank you.
Candace Russell?
Good evening, Candace Russell, Elkhart. I'm just going to read you a little poem. A visitor from the past. I had a dream the other night I didn't understand. A figure walking through the mist with rifle in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure your liberty. We wrote a constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave in this land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you'd always keep. but tyrants labored endlessly while your parents fell asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost, you're no more than a slave in this land of the free and the home of the brave. You buy permits to travel, permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or build a place for one. On land that you believe your own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read the current news in a regulated press and pay a tax you do not owe to that thing called the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver or of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You paid for crimes that make our nation turn from God in shame. You've taken Satan's number and traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm, so they can burn down churches and seize the family farm, and keep our country deep in debt and put our men in jail, harassing fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children can't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores, and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died, or do you have the courage to stand with faith and pride? And there are no more values for which you'll fight to save, or do you wish your children to live in fear and submission as a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise and take a stand. Defend your Constitution, the supreme law of our land. Preserve our great Republic and each God-given right, and pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he vanished into the mist from whence he came. His words were true, we are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you sleep, and wondered what remains from the freedoms he fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and the home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless the Republic.
Howard?
Hi, my name is Sarah Howard. I'm a parent of a first grader at Woodland Elementary. And I came to the board meeting a couple weeks ago to talk about the Kids Care site closure at Mary Daly School. And Kids Care is operated by Boys and Girls Club. And so I just wanted to give a little bit of an update and say that while the site is remaining closed at this point, I do know that by coming in, bringing the closure to the attention of school administration and the board members, that there has been follow-up. The principal of my daughter's school has been a very strong advocate along with me in problem solving. I even got a phone call from Ms. Davis last night letting me know some information that she had found out, which I really appreciated. Although the result isn't what I had hoped for the families that have been impacted, I do know that there is progress being made. I know that there was a meeting today with key people from school administration as well as Kids Care to come up with a plan to hopefully avoid this in the future, or maybe resolve it so that something can still remedy. So as we all know, child care is a huge issue in our community, especially for working families of elementary age children. And the families didn't do anything other than accept a service that was offered to them prior to the school year. But we all know things happen. So I just wanted to say thank you to those who listened and did follow up and did return my calls. I'm a very diligent, persistent parent and advocate for the community. And sometimes that can be a little bit of a thorn in the side, but I do appreciate my voice was heard. And I plan to continue working on this issue. The other thing that I wanted to say is that we are thankful for the experience that we've had with Woodland Elementary so far. I really appreciate all of the other parents who've been here talking about, and teachers talking about such important issues. But our experience at Woodland with our staff has been phenomenal. We couldn't ask for a better principal, better teachers. Our daughter looks forward to seeing them every day.
We're excited about the donation that was made for playground equipment, that the kids have something to look forward to. It shows us the community also cares. And the other thing that I wanted to say is just an acknowledgement of all of the teachers. That last board meeting I came to, there was such emotion, and I don't know if they hear it often enough in a public forum, that families and parents are so grateful that they choose to still teach every day, in spite of the challenges, the pandemic. We're grateful that our daughter gets to go to school every day, even in these really challenging times. So we just wanted to say thank you to those teachers, and they are appreciated, and they're worth everything that they're asking for and more. So that was it. I had more, but 3 minutes is up, so thank you.
Philip Crawford.
Good evening, Philip Crawford, Goshen, Indiana. I'm with Purple for Parents, and I'd like to start by reading from the Constitution of the United States, Amendment number 14, Section 1 says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States, and of the state wherein they reside, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities to citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. I want to focus on those three words, life, liberty, and property. We're, like it or not, we're in a country right now where life, liberty, and property are being taken and thrown and stomped down by our strong-armed, disgusting, sick, twisted government. Sorry if you voted for Joe Biden, but he's taking away liberty, life, and property.
Let's go, Brandon.
And unfortunately, it's trickled down because we have governors who are afraid of his ridiculous mandates, vaccine mandates, trying to put companies under, trying to scare school corporations. Well, I would encourage you guys, don't listen to our governor, don't listen to our president. You know why? Because we, the people of this country, have more power than they do. Why is that? Well, you see, because God hates the idea of communism. God hates the idea of saying that everybody's got to abide by this certain standard. And, you know, God does not like the idea of you've got to put masks in everybody without the opportunity to choose. You've got to put masks on everybody without the opportunity to choose. And unfortunately, the school corporations have just, quite frankly, cowered back, and it's time to stand up for life and liberty. Now, from a Christian point of view, the Bible and what the religious people we stand on is where the Bible tells us to fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called thee by my name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When thou walkest through the fire, you shall not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee or harm thee. So it's time to stop living in fear. Parents, they are done with it. We are absolutely fed up with this pandemic nonsense of the last year and a half. Quite frankly, I mean, I don't have time to go into all the details, but a lot of this is a bunch of lies and a bunch of control. And if we don't get a hold of this thing now, it's going to destroy our young generation. I see this young lady coming up here. They are the future of our generation, as she said. And we've got to save them from this communistic, ridiculous, strong-arm government. And it's your decision. Be on the side of liberty. Be on the side of freedom. Be on God's side, ultimately. And just know that we, the people, are with you if you stand on the side of liberty. God bless.
Yeah, that's right.
America.
Yeah.
Angela?
Angela Whitlow, leave my address. I never write anything, I probably should. I came to talk about parent-teacher conferences. I attended the Freshman Academy, and I just wanted to say how great it was over there. The teachers did a really fantastic job. They were all centralized in one location. They were readily available, you know, besides, you know, going and taking their breaks. Some of them didn't even take breaks. So it was really nice, and I really liked their setup. I went to the high school, 10th through 12th building. It was a little different experience, so I will address that with the principal. But one thing I noticed is that unfortunately these teachers for parent-teacher conferences are here from like 7:30 a.m. until almost 8 o'clock at night. They don't have much of a break. I know a lot, or a few of the teachers, not a lot, a few of the teachers I talked with, they didn't even take a lunch, or a dinner, I should say. So that's something that concerns me as in regards to our teachers, because they deserve that. They deserve a break. I mean, that's a long day for anybody, and I know we have to work out parent-teacher conferences and trying to get with people. It's unfortunately the teachers got the short end of the stick, or the staff that had to be there. That's a huge long day. I know you can pack lunch, this and that, but it's just kind of unfortunate for them. I feel a little bit bad for them. Then to address what I had spoke earlier with Dr. T about the bus guidelines for mask wearing, I emailed you guys back September 1st, back and forth, quite a few emails, and gave you some scenarios and some recommendations and what the CDC and Indiana Department of Health guidelines were. It just does not make sense to me, and I've shown you, I can re-send you guys the email if you need it, if you've deleted it because you just don't want to hear about it. But it frustrates me because there nowhere in there does it say that you cannot be on transportation. So you're taking kids away from education when nowhere on there does it say that you cannot be on transportation with a mask. It also, I just read the updated guidelines, 1019, it says that for higher education, if you're in close contact, you should quarantine no matter if you're wearing a mask or not. So there's just different guidelines everywhere. It's just starting to get frustrated by everybody. I understand the idea of masks. I've always said that. I understand it's a hard decision, but at this point, you can make up your own rules and you're just choosing not to.
Right.
And so we just need to keep our kids in school, but you guys need to do guidelines and come up with something. Thank you.
Yes. I'm just waiting.
This person is Dr. Mark Lindholm.
Oh, we like him.
Hello.
Dr. Lindholm,
Yes.
you'd like to address the board?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
State your name,
I want to
your
sincerely.
address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, this is Dr. Mark Lindholm. I live at 54541 Hunters Court, Elkhart, Indiana. I have 4 children that have benefited from Elkhart Community Schools, the youngest of which is still a high school student. Can you give me a thumbs up so you can hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So I want to sincerely thank all the school board trustees for their dedication. I believe that you are good people trying to do the right thing. Unfortunately, there is complete lack of parameters to guide you in your decisions pertaining to when to stop or start a mask mandate, other than the governor's executive order, which, as Dr. Tallheimer stated tonight, only dictates how we handle close contacts and social distancing, etc., but it is not a mandate, and it is also not enforceable. More importantly, during the last 2 school board meetings, I and others have presented the large body of scientific literature which clearly demonstrates that masks do not work to prevent the spread of respiratory viruses. In light of this information, and this is important, tying the use of masks to any COVID case numbers when the scientific literature clearly demonstrates that masks do not stop the spread of viruses is nonsensical and dangerous.
Yes.
To illustrate this point, let us imagine that the CDC advised you and the superintendent recommended that you mandate all students wear a purple shirt, and that purple shirts protect them from contracting COVID. Even though this is nonsensical, as we all know, purple shirts don't protect people from viruses, and worse, could give them a false sense of security, actually putting them in more grave danger. Furthermore, if the parameters set to determine the start and ending of this nonsensical use of purple shirts was somehow tied to COVID numbers, which could not possibly be a affected by the use of purple shirts, this would be absurd. I argue that the same principle applies to the use of masks. More importantly, I and many parents don't plan to be silent any longer, as this issue is too important. It is honestly so much bigger than masks. The reality is that our children are learning to act like humble prisoners, and school administrators are becoming their arrogant prison guards. Parents are becoming demoralized, not under the crushing weight of the pandemic itself, but the draconian public health measures that I believe have been calculated to render our children more docile and amiable to control. I urge other parents concerned about the loss of our freedom to make healthcare choices for our children, or are concerned about the dangerous and intentional conditioning of our children to follow mandates without use of critical thinking. Join us, parents that are speaking up. Now is the time. We have to stand for our rights and our children's rights before it is too late. Thank you.
Do you have anything from the superintendent?
I just would like to thank Katie for coming from this Student Advisory Committee for being the first of our speakers this year, and appreciate her being here. And then secondly, from the work session, I would want to echo what Mr. England said regarding the work of Lisa Ernsberger and the High Ability Guiding Coalitions and all the work that's been done to get that program rebooted for us. There's been some fantastic work done by all of those people and the teachers in that program to get us back on track where we're taking care of the needs of all of our students. So I appreciate that work as well.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't try to think. Can I speak for a minute? I just want to respond to the doctor's suggestion about how masks work and so forth.
That's fine.
Is that fine? Yeah, I'm Kirk Herzl. I live in Middlebury.
When you're done, can you give that to me? When you're done.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I just want to take exception to what he said. Actually, masks do work. If you take they work about as well as a hose stream going through a wire fence. So, I mean, if you believe that's effective, if the wire fence is effective in stopping a water stream, you should probably believe that those work as well. Two things are going to happen. Kids are going to come out of the schools. That's starting already. It's going to continue to happen. If you don't want to have kids bleed out of your school system, you should probably start rethinking your policies. Second of all, they are going to homeschooling. We're giving the kids an option to come out. I think a lot of kids want to stay in public schools. Make it possible for them to do that. Get rid of these ridiculous rules.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Before we start with our comments from the board, I'd like to ask you all to join us in a moment of silence in remembrance of our fine teacher, Timothy Jones, who tragically passed away. Thank you. So, I would like to celebrate the great weekend that the Elkhart Lions had. We had the ladies cross-country team and 3 members of the boys cross-country team all compete at Huntington College in the semi-state for the cross-country. We were very proud of those individuals. And we'd also like to congratulate the Marching Lions for their first trip to the state finals and the fine showing that they gave us and how they made us proud this weekend. The Lions have a lot to celebrate, and we need to remember that. Are there any other comments from the board? Okay.
I would just like to highlight a few things coming up in the next week or so. On October 30th, the high school is hosting Track or Treat at Rice Field. All the sports teams and clubs will have tables set up around the track. It's free to the public, so bring your kids. And it's supposed to run from 4:30 to 6 on October 30th. The EEF is hosting a resource fair at Tolson on November 6th. On November 5th and through the 7th, the high school play, Anne of Green Gables, is going to be performed. And I think you can get tickets And then as well, I'd like to also congratulate all the fall athletes on their seasons and their conference and state honors. And the winter season is starting.
Doug?
Yeah, in following up with comments by Mr. Philip Crawford on the Bill of Rights, Indiana actually Constitution has a Bill of Rights too, and it has a very nice preamble to it, and it has sections, 37 sections. Section 31, no law shall restrain any inhabitants of the state from assembling together in a peaceful manner to consult for their common good, nor from instructing their representatives. That's us right here, okay? It's a good thing you're doing it. That's number 31, so there's 36 more in there that you as taxpayers and voters and stuff like that should reread this thing and go out and exercise those things. I would wholeheartedly encourage all of that. But anyhow, thank you very much. It's a good document.
Any other comments from the board?
And of course, I will echo that, we are doing the things that make the direction to moving toward revisiting our parameters that we didn't put into place. We have UV machines inside of our schools that are doing things that are killing the virus. That was something that was expected. We need to begin to acknowledge that everybody has an opinion, and as devastating as it is, life is an ebb and flow, and things do happen, and we do need to start moving, as Dr. Lindholm said, out of the fear spectrum and start questioning what we are actually representing at this moment.
Yes.
Because I myself, as a board member, am very confused and keep asking the same questions on where do we end this? Where does it stop? Demographically, we talk about all of these other areas, but we have elementary students at kindergarten level that cannot phonetically speak. We're doing things. We have great things in this school and great teachers that I can't believe the amount of work that went in the parent-teacher conferences. And another thing, parents, you see your child's grades. When you see those, it's your responsibility to meet with these parents, these teachers that are sitting there from 7 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, and talk to them. You cannot keep sending messages that you don't know why your children are feeling when you have access to what you need to do and you need to discuss. And I know many of those teachers, somebody very close to me that is in her very first year, that put her heart and soul into exhausting herself to make sure that she was fully prepared. And the parents that needed to be there, they didn't come. They didn't come, but the parents that didn't need to be there were there.
Right.
And our teachers need, if we're going to hold them accountable, and I am it's no secret that I am for mask optional, but I in turn am gonna hold the parents accountable. If your child is failing, it's your responsibility to reach out to your teacher.
Is there any other comments from the board?
See, you don't want to co-parent with the government and then blame the government when they don't parent your child.
Right, exactly.
I mean, that's just the truth. She's absolutely correct.